There's a couple questions I got yesterday. Thank you, Roa. Hopefully the rest of you are trying these and emailing me questions so I can do this each day for you. But on that assignment from 7.2 chapter review, I wanted to do number 14 was the first question. And it was this: 4x quantity squared over 4x quantity to the 1/2. So that's a little bit confusing, but not really. Look at the top. That 2 is going to affect both of them. So that's 4x, or excuse me, not 4. It'll be 16x squared because 4 squared, x squared. The bottom is the same. 4 to the 1/2, that's the square root of 4, so that'll be 2, and that'll be just x to the 1/2. Well, 16 divided by 2, that's 8. And x to the second over x to the 1/2 would be x to the 2 minus 1/2. 2, of course, is 4 over 2 minus 1 over 2. That's where they get 3 over 2. So the final answer is just 8x to the 3 over 2. So hopefully that'll help you. She also had a question on number 23. Now 23 is an interesting one. You're supposed to find the inverse of f of x equals negative x to the 4th. And she had a question on the domain afterwards. So I want to definitely go through this one. So that's y equals negative x to the 4th. So when you find the inverse, remember, what do? Switch x and y. So it'll be x equals negative y to the 4th. Well, I've got to now get y by itself. So I divide out the negative 1 and get negative x equals y to the 4th. Well, to get rid of the 4th power, I've got to take the 4th root or raise it to the 1/4 power. So over here, you'll just have y, of course, what I want. But look what you have over here. You have negative x to the 1/4 power. Now, just think about this as the 4th root. If I just had that, I could not use negative numbers because that's an even root. That's like taking the square root of negative something. You'll get imaginaries, right? This one is like negative x. So what I really have is the 4th root of, think about it like this, negative whatever. If I put a positive number in there, I'm taking the 4th root of a negative. Can't have it. Therefore, the only numbers that I'm allowed to put in here will be negative numbers. So when you have this, that's basically the answer, but you can only use x's which are less than 0, or basically negative numbers, because then you'll have the 4th root of negative some number. Well, that would turn to positive, and then you can do it. So that's why that domain restriction in the answers might have confused you. You cannot use positive numbers right here. X must be negative, so negative turns this whole thing positive, and there you go. All right, so hopefully that helped.